All right, so this video is just for anyone that has some shoulder and some lower back range of motion issues. So I worked with a gentleman today that had a couple of pretty big limitations. His first one was actually on his right shoulder, and he wasn't able to bring this shoulder up as high and as easy as he could do with his left. So again, his left one could go straight up overhead, right one was just got a little stuck right about there. So we'll kind of address that one. The other one that we noticed was that when he was lifting up his left leg, he had a little bit of limitation, so he couldn't go quite as high with his left leg when lifting up versus his right leg could go quite a bit higher, especially when we started turning the foot out and trying to lift it, or turning the foot in and trying to lift it. So both of those, we found some little bit of hip dysfunction on one side and a little bit of shoulder dysfunction on the opposite side. So you kind of had left hip issues and then kind of right shoulder issues. And for him personally, this was kind of affecting and seeing that he had some impingement syndromes here kind of on the side and on the top of the shoulder. And then also he had some lower back issues that were kind of tightening him up and preventing him from doing a few different workouts. So anyway, here are a couple of exercises that you could do and go through to try to alleviate some of those same range of motion limitations. So one of the muscles that we discussed was this serratus anterior muscle. That's a muscle that sits on the anterior surface of your scapula. So if I took this scapula right off of the shoulder and was holding it right here, it's on the front part of that shoulder. So it attaches to the anterior surface of that shoulder blade, and then it comes in and attaches right along here, along the ribs underneath your armpit. So typically you'll feel this one if you kind of almost like drop your shoulder down and kind of pull your elbow into your side. So one of the first exercises that we went over was basically just using a little block. So you could use a yoga brick like this. You could also use a rolled up towel, or even like a meditation pillow or a pillow from your couch, but you're just basically hugging it underneath your arm like this. You're trying to kind of squeeze your arm toward your rib cage. So here I'm just trying to pull my elbow kind of in like this, but I'm using this wedge or this block to kind of give me some something to press against for resistance. So when I do this, you don't want to feel anything here on the top of the shoulder. You want to feel that underarm kind of serratus muscle under here that's kind of pulling that elbow down and into your side of your ribs. So for this one, you're just trying to hold that squeeze for about 6 seconds, and you're going to do a total of 6 sets in a row. Okay, so it's 6 by 6. And again, the best time to do these exercises are right before you go into doing a normal workout, and then do them again right after you've finished a workout, because that's the best time that your muscles will probably try to shut down, is during your actual workout. So whether you go for a jog, a bike ride, you're doing jiu-jitsu, doing weightlifting, do these as kind of like your warm-up and your cool down. So exercise number 1 is this one, where you're just trying to pull your elbow into the side of your rib cage. And again, you can use a rolled up towel, anything you have that's about this width. But again, you're holding that for about 6 seconds, trying to squeeze that under armpit muscle for a total of 6 sets. Okay, so that's exercise number 1. The next one is what I just call the serratus push-up. Okay, so for this one, you do need something like a bench, just like this back here. You could also use like the front of this desk as another option, or you could even use like the front edge of like a bathtub. So you just need something that's on a little bit of an incline. So I'll practice and show you here on this bench. But for this one, you're not doing an actual push-up. You're basically doing kind of like a push-up shrug. So all you're trying to do is kind of let your shoulder blades drop like this, and then you're just trying to kind of push up like this. So my elbows are staying straight, but all I'm trying to do is, again, work that serratus muscle that's underneath the armpit. You might feel a little bit of chest when you do this also, but again, you're not bending the elbows like a normal push-up. Okay, a normal push-up would be like this, all the way up and down, but this one we're just trying to work on getting those shoulder blades to start moving. So I'm not moving my elbows, I'm just basically kind of shrugging and unshrugging my shoulders, but not up and down, more forward and back. So for this one, we're gonna do 3 sets of 15 of those kind of push protraction motions. Okay, so that'd be exercise number 2, is just using a bench or whatever. Your hands are out like this. I'll kind of demonstrate on this desk here. But again, all you're trying to do is you're trying to let those shoulders kind of drop back like this, and then let them go forward without bending your elbows. Okay, so 3 sets doing 15 repetitions of that second exercise. Okay, so number 3 was just doing an overhead isometric. So again, this person could not raise their arm much higher than this without really compensating and twisting his body. So what we said is just bring your arm up just to where it feels like it's stopping, and then use your other hand as a block, just like this, and try to push this arm up. Now as you're pushing this arm up into this hand, which is the block, you should feel again this shoulder blade area starting to contract. You don't want to just use these front delt muscles here. Okay, those could be working, but we're trying to use the analogy of like the blade of a shovel kind of scooping back. So you really want to look at that shoulder blade that we were talking about and feeling like as your arm is up overhead that the shoulder blade is kind of sinking down. Okay, just like the blade on a shovel if you're digging into dirt. Okay, so for that one you're going to hold that isometric for 6 seconds and repeat it for 6 sets. So again, you're lining up like this, kind of put this hand here, stop right where your range of motion ends, and you're trying to push this way, pushing upward, again, contracting that right serratus area, kind of behind and underneath that right shoulder blade. So you just go up here, hold it for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, then relax, and then you just keep repeating that for a total of 6 sets. Okay, so that was exercise number 3 for the shoulder. Then we have a 4th one. So this one is the one that I just call the wall T. So when you do this one, you're going to go up against a wall and you're just trying to push your arms backward into the wall and you're trying to squeeze those muscles right between your shoulder blades. Okay, not up here on the traps, but a little bit deeper, kind of right between the 2 shoulder blades. Okay, so for this one, honestly, just kind of go up to any flat wall surface like this. Put your arms in that T position, and I'm just trying to push both my arms back into that wall and squeeze the middle of those muscles kind of right between my shoulder blades. So I'm just holding that for about 6 seconds, and then I release. Okay, and then again, I kind of squeeze, flex those muscles between my shoulder blades, 6 seconds, and then release. So you're gonna do that one, 6-second holds for a total of 6 sets in a row. Okay, so that's just kind of the warm up just for the upper body shoulder stuff, okay? So for the lower body, the first one that we're gonna do are some standing hip kicks, okay? So for him, it was actually his left hip that was a little bit limited. So I told him, he said you could use kind of the back of your chair just for balance, but what you're going to do are a few different kicks, and we did this V kick, okay? So we did it in 2 different positions. So for him, when he lifted his leg up like this with his toes kind of pushing straight up, he had pretty good range of motion. But as soon as we had him turn his foot kind of outward like this, all of a sudden he couldn't lift that leg or that hip quite as high. And the same thing also when we turned his hip in, couldn't lift it very high. Okay, so the exercise that we're gonna do for this one is without turning your hips like this, trying to keep your hips kind of pointing straight ahead, we're gonna try and do a V kick with an externally rotated foot position. And then we're going to do that same V kick with an internally rotated hip or foot position. So for this one, we'll start with the internal rotation, but we're trying to go in a V motion. So there's one side of the V, there's the other side. So going up and in, and then kind of up and out, up and in, and up and out. Okay, so we're going to do 10 kicks each direction. So that's 3 and 3. This is 4 and 4 and 5 and 5, all the way up to 10. Once you finish that, then you're going to go into the externally rotated position, so toes out, and do that same V pattern for 10. So again, it's 1 and 1, 2 and 2, and 3 and 3, all the way up to 10. Now the region that we're trying to work on for here is right around this hip, okay? So right here is the kind of the top of my hip bone. We're not trying to work this top area, we're trying to work kind of down here, okay? So right here on that hip is where you should feel muscles starting to flex. So for that one, we're just trying to do 10 each direction with the foot internally rotated, and then we're gonna do 10 each direction with the foot externally rotated. Okay, so just 1 set of each of that last one, okay? All right, the next one that we're gonna look at is just trying to open up the hips, and for this one, we're gonna basically do an internal and external rotation hip kind of kick, okay? So the best way I can explain this one is it kind of looks like you're trying to play hacky sack. So again, for this gentleman, it was his left hip that was having a few issues. So all you're gonna try and do is you're trying to go like this, just like there was a hacky sack coming here and you're trying to hit it with your instep, okay? So you're just trying to kick it this way 10 times, okay? And this is helping to kind of externally rotate your hip like that. And then we're gonna do 10 outward, okay? So again, imagine a hacky sack is coming this way, and you're trying to kick it outward like this, okay? So you're trying to kick it with this outside part of your step of your foot, okay? So just like if you're walking with a friend in high school and you're trying to like kick him in the butt, that same kind of motion. So trying to get internal rotation this way, and then this one again is external rotation this way. Okay, so we're just trying to swing that hip both directions. So again, we're gonna go 10 to the inside and then 10 reps to the outside. Again, just trying to kind of wake up that hip, okay? The next one we're gonna do is one that I call kind of the Elvis twist, okay? So for this one, all we're doing is we're just trying to kind of move your hips kind of one direction and then the other with your feet in place. So here you can kind of see my feet a little bit better. They're about shoulder width apart. Hands, I'm just kind of holding up just so you can kind of see my hips a little bit better. You can keep them down wherever you need to. But here I'm just trying to twist my hips to the left and then twist my hips to the right. So as I do this, I'm trying to utilize a little bit of my glutes, but mostly these TVA muscles that are right along the side of your abs, okay? So here's your rectus abdominis abs, kind of the six-pack abs that are here in front. We're going just a little bit lateral to those, right around here. I'm trying to twist just my hips. So again, think of Elvis kind of doing that little hip twist left and right, and you're not trying to spin your toes like this. Your toes are staying straight ahead, but you're just trying to shift left, shift right, shift left, and shift right. Okay, so when you do this, I want you to feel these hip muscles engaging. So for that one, we're just doing one set of 10 each direction. Okay, so kind of 1, 1, 2, 2, all the way up to 10, but really trying to engage those core muscles, okay? And then the last one we're gonna do for the hips is on the floor, okay? So for this one, we're just trying to do a little hip roll. And for this one, I'm gonna lay down on my back, and you're gonna have one leg bent, just like this. So I have my right leg bent, my left leg is straight. And then from here, all I'm doing is I'm trying to roll my hips to the left, okay? Now when I roll to the left with my right knee bent, I should feel this right TVA that's right along in here. Okay, so I'm basically just kind of rolling until I can get my right butt cheek off the floor, but I'm trying to utilize this right TVA muscle as I do this, okay? So this gentleman, he could do it fine with his right leg, but when we had his left knee bent like this, he could barely move that left side, or we definitely noticed an asymmetry where he couldn't move this side as well. So a way to kind of adjust with that is just try to roll your whole body before you try to lift that hip. So before you're trying to like lift that butt cheek off the ground, just try to kind of like roll as if you're gonna roll out of bed to this right side, okay? So again, he's trying to use his left TVA, but he had a little bit of dysfunction on that side. So again, you're just trying to kind of lift this up and get that to match what you were doing on the right side. So for this one, we're just doing one set of 15 repetitions where you're just trying to kind of do this hip roll, but you should start feeling this kind of right here along that TVA area. So again, 15 reps, just one set, trying to just wake up that trunk muscle, okay? So those are all the exercises. Again, we had 4 for the upper body, and then we had 4 for the lower body, and a couple different varying sets and reps on those. But for the most part, you're just trying to go through those 4 shoulder exercises before you do a regular workout, and do those 4 lower body exercises before the workout. And then you go through your normal workout, where that's, running, swimming, bike riding, doing jiu-jitsu, any weightlifting, but then do those same 8 exercises at the end of your workout, just to try to get those range of motion and get those asymmetries back in order again. So that's it.